It's been a lot of fun talking about War Thunder so far on this channel. There's obviously an insane amount to the game, and I know I've only scratched the surface. A big part, well, the only part I've done so far on this channel is ground realistic battles. I think the tank part of this game gets the most love, probably because the crazy skill gap, or just the insane range of playstyles it accommodates. But what you probably don't know is I do far more than ground realistic battles, and today I'm going to talk about my War Thunder journey. Now, to get the crazy part out of the way first, here is the long-term goal. I am going to spade every single vehicle from every single nation. All the planes, all the tanks, all the ships, and all the boats. When I tell people that, the reaction is usually that I'm crazy. It's typically, oh, I'm at insert some really high number of hours, 2,000, 5,000, and I haven't even gotten close. Yeah, I realize this sounds absurd. I have no idea if the game will still be running long enough for me to do it. That's why I have to keep making War Thunder content to grow the player base and keep Gaijin in business for years to come. I would die if I were forced to quit halfway. The only way I'm quitting is if I decide to quit, which I guess isn't really a high bar. But look, I played Pokemon as a kid and also played JRPGs where the goal was to grind for months before endgame. So collecting and maxing out levels is built into my soul. I genuinely don't remember what got me to start on War Thunder. I know I'd seen the ads for years on random YouTube videos, but for some reason it never quite clicked that I should play this game. But at this point, I think it's been a little over a year that I've been playing. Possibly longer, memory's getting a little fuzzy. But at any rate, I think I was honestly inspired by watching some Battlefield trailers. Not the shooting and like the soldiers, but the vehicles look fun, and I said, man, I want to play some more vehicles. So I made the leap, downloaded War Thunder. Sounds simple, right? I've mentioned this before, but I really had a misunderstanding of tanks before I started playing War Thunder. I thought they were Battlefield fortresses made to take a beating and dish out devastation. I thought we were going to slug it out round for round on the battlefield like Rocky and Ivan Drago and Rocky 2. And same thing with air battles. The most time I've spent in an air combat game was Ace Combat. Over the top dramatic storylines, shrugging off missiles, dogfighting dozens of enemies. Oh yeah, and the boats in the game are cool too. The ships and boats I do love. I love the history. We'll get more into that later on. So I download this game, and side note, it's actually crazy how amazing the classical War Thunder soundtrack is, and how much I dislike the modern soundtrack. There really should be a setting to only play the classical ones. I wish I could customize my hangar too. Man, this game is leaving a lot on the table, but I digress. I'm certain that I started American tanks because I'm American, and those are the only ones I knew anything about. And when I say I knew anything about, I was thinking about World War II era Shermans and maybe some modern Abrams tanks. Fun fact, I spent a few years in the US Air Force, didn't come anywhere near a plane. I was in tow, and definitely nowhere near a tank. Actually, the closest I came to a tank was passing a bunch that were parked like a National Guard post in Maryland, and thinking, those things must have cost so much money and they will never once get used in the field. They might not get used at all. But like I said, I started with tanks with US, and I started in arcade mode. You guys might not remember this, or maybe it was different, but the first match you play in ground is against bots. I had no idea, and for a few brief minutes before I realized they were bots, I truly believed I was really good at the game. And my stats were skewed for a long time, showing an incredibly efficient kill-to-death ratio with one of those American reserve tanks. I thought, hey, this isn't going to be so bad. And then I got into my next match, and then the next, and Lord knows how many were an absolute horror show. I played arcade ground only for a long time, and I got brutally beat down for a very long time. I've detailed a good bit about all the different ways I was uninformed or just bad at the game, and that hasn't changed that much. I'm still pretty bad. So I won't go too much into that here, but this is when a bulk of the suffering was done. I was laboring under the impression that arcade was easier, and I think the answer is it's a bit more forgiving as a gunner because it tells you what to do, but it's harder in a sense because there's no hiding. Everyone knows exactly where you are, basically right away. Anytime you think you're lining up a good shot on an enemy, someone else is doing the exact same thing to you, but probably faster. I say arcade isn't easier, but then again, earlier today, I actually did arcade in France, rank 1, as the menu changed itself automatically, and we won handily while I finished 4th, so maybe it is easier. Could have been a fluke, probably a fluke. So I worked through, and worked is a polite word. It was more like, I don't know, maybe the word is I forced myself to crawl through the American rank 1 tanks. This experience is what shattered the perception I had of tanks as battlefield fortresses. They're not. They're fragile little glass babies who cannot be touched under any circumstances, or they will explode into a billion pieces. If you even look at them the right way, the crew might get knocked out, unless of course you're playing as Russia. As I got into rank 2, I finally learned about the mechanics of auto repair and realized I had long burned through my free repairs since I was exploding so often and doing so little in the matches. And that's when I decided I'll just play other modes in other nations while my tanks are repairing for free. Genius. So that's how mechanically I rotate through the vehicles and nations. So far I've gotten US into rank 3, Germany and USSR into rank 2, I think. And every vehicle that I unlock, I spade before moving on to the next. My big push right now is to get all my tanks into rank 2, driving to rank 3 across the board so I can readily participate in events. But the idea remains the same. Whenever a vehicle is damaged, I just play something else until that vehicle repairs. I just keep cycling through until that doesn't work anymore. Now, at some point, the absurdity of ground arcade struck me a bit too hard. I think watching tanks careen around corners with one track in the air while firing at rapid speed felt like too much for what I wanted. I switched to ground realistic, and I have never looked back. Well, I look back a lot because for a long time I got brutally bullied in realistic. And I still get bullied in realistic, but at least now I drive a little more cautiously so it doesn't happen as quickly. All kidding aside, I am slowly getting better at the tank combat. I would love to be 12 kills guy one day, but for now I'm still usually pretty happy to win and be alive when the match is over. Now, people in the comments ask, well, what about air battles? Do you ever play air? I do, in fact, play air battles. I played mostly air arcade, and I am just making the switch to air realistic. Reason for the switch is honestly the research problem. Air arcade research is just glacial when every plane only gets a short lifespan. It's probably a skill issue, I know, but keeping a plane going in air arcade for too long, it's just impossible for me. Air realistic will probably be just as bad, but I did see a wise comment point out that 9 bad matches and 1 good in air realistic will still net you far more research than 10 decent air arcades. So that's where that is. I've got a little advancement in the US, German, and Russian planes. Not much at all, but I think I'm just reaching 4 in US and 2 and 3 in the other 2. And the rest are coming along, but the work is indeed in progress. And yes, I play naval too. I've done mostly naval arcade, but have dabbled in realistic. This mode is still a little broken. For example, we were just playing in the Discord a naval squad match. We roll out in some World War II era boats, and then we're getting decimated by missiles from the enemy, which felt a little bit off. But that's part of the game. It's getting spaded. I don't know which mode I'll use going forward there, but it's still going to happen. I have some thoughts I want to expand on naval battles in a future video. And that's where I'm at with my War Thunder journey, and I hope that gives you a sense of where I'm going. I'm in no particular rush to get to top tier. I hear it's a whole different world. I'm taking it all as it comes. Are there silly things? Sure, but I enjoy when I play. The squads I've been forming in the Discord have been honestly great, so I am truly excited to continue. And like I said, if I ever actually start getting good at the game, the pace can only increase. So here's looking forward to many more years to come. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you for watching and joining along this War Thunder journey so far. I'm going to keep pushing forward and hope to have some of you fighting alongside me. If you don't mind playing low tier for a while, that is. We'll see you in the Discord. Subscribe if you can. We'll see you next time either way. Mediocre Thunder, signing off.